Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Since I just got back from the Philippines, I thought I'd make a little comparison video talking about some of the differences between living in Philippines and living in China. And first of all, I mean, if y'all don't know, I used to live in the Philippines many years ago, like way back in the early 2000s. And I've been to the Philippines many times. I like countless times over the years. But I've been living here in China for the past 15 plus years, more than 15 years, going on 16 years now. So I've been living in China for a long time. And so I think I can compare the two, especially since I go to the Philippines at least once every single year. And so anyway, we're gonna talk about all that today. Now, keep in mind, the stuff that I'm gonna share with you are just my own thoughts and opinions based on, you know, myself and the things I like and that kind of thing. It's not about, you know, I'm not saying recommending any of this stuff or something like that for any people, or saying your experience in either one of the places will be the same as mine, because I'm just sharing you my own personal things here. So keep that in mind. So anyway, let's get into it. No, I guess I'll cover some of the basic stuff first. But like I said, I'm covering more of the things that have to do with, that are relevant to me, I guess. But in terms of the differences between Philippines and China, of course, China is 10 times cleaner, 10 times more organized, 10 times more modern. It's just beats Philippines in every way in terms of, you know, the quality of life and how every normal everyday life is, like what you can expect to experience here in China. I mean, it's one of the most, especially even in the smaller cities, but especially in the bigger cities, it's more modern than most places you'll ever visit in the world. So, you know, China has that going for it, if that's your thing. Now, Philippines is much more dirty. Infrastructure pretty much everywhere, even in Manila, is not even close to that of China, and it's very chaotic and all kind of stuff going on. But that being said, it does have like a grittiness and a interesting appeal to it. Now, when I was in the Philippines, I've been everywhere. I've been to, you know, big cities and out in the province and all that other stuff. And I actually stay both places. I stay in the province sometimes, and sometimes I stay in Metro Manila. And when I'm in Manila, every single day that I leave and go outside, I get approached a minimum of 5 times, maybe 10 times, people asking me for money everywhere I go, like everywhere. Hey, give me money, give me money, give me money. So I hear it all the time, 5, 10 times every time I leave the house. So I do not like that. That's really annoying to me. But I never experienced that when I go out in the province in Philippines. I only experience it there in like Metro Manila area. But when I'm in the province, I don't really experience that very much. So for me, you know, I don't like that, being asked for money like that all the time. And so yeah, I mean, I don't mind giving money to people who need help or something like that, but you can't give money to every single person that asks for money, especially if it's 5 or 10 times. Every time you walk out the door, you'll be broke. You won't have any money. So you can't really do that. Now here in China, honestly, I never get asked for money ever. I think maybe once or twice I had like a friend or a colleague that I worked with asked me to borrow money, and you know, I let them borrow money, and well, one of them paid me back, one of them didn't. But it's very rare that people in China will you know, go out and ask people for money, especially a foreigner just walking down the street or something. You're not going to get approached, people begging or asking for money. It just doesn't happen here in China, and something that I've never experienced here. I mean, I've experienced people trying to sell me stuff. They'll come to you, like some whatever, especially in some tourist area, they're going to come to you and try to sell you something. But that's everywhere in the world you go. But never had any problem with that. So in terms of some other things, in terms of like living, I guess, me personally, I like all the conveniences of living in a big city. But also at the same time, when I was staying out in the province in Philippines, like a really small town, but even a city, a small town, like 30,000 people. And something about it is quite relaxing and nice and peaceful, especially if you have all the things you need. It's like the place I stay, like it's in Bicol, in the Bicol region. Anyway, the place I stay, you know, I have a gym, or like a decent gym that I go to, very cheap and affordable. You know, there's no like name brand coffee shops or restaurants or nothing like that, other than just the McDonald's and a Jollibee. Other than that, everything's like all like family owned businesses. There's no big name brands or nothing like that anywhere in that small city. So, but I quite like that. It's quite peaceful, quite relaxing. But you know, if you want to do something, like say for example, you want to like go out on a date or something like that, there's really nowhere to go. There's not a movie cinema. There's really nothing you can do except for like maybe like go for a walk. Or it's like there's really nothing to do, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that in a way. It's kind of very simple and really nice. And but in the bigger city, you obviously have a lot more options, things you could do, restaurants to eat, places to go shopping, and all that stuff. So you know, it's hard for me to decide which place I like the most, because I really like both aspects of it. And here in China, you know, even small cities are like big cities. You know, there's millions of people. The place I live is, a lot of people would say it's like not very good or not very nice, but there's still like 7 million people here, and you can go out any time of the day and find anything you want to eat, anything you want to drink, shopping malls, all this other stuff. Everything that you want to find, you can find it here. So, you know, China has that going for it, but also it's hard to escape and find the peace and quiet. So, you know, it has that trade-off as well. Now, in terms of the living cost in Philippines, especially out in the province, I could easily live on $700 a month, easily. It's like in terms of like just myself as a single guy, and I rent a decent apartment or something like that, like a local apartment, like how locals live, which like how I live now. Not in a high-rise building or nothing like that. I mean, out in the province, you don't have condos and all that stuff. We're just talking about like a normal local rented apartment. But anyway, all that stuff, I could live there for like $700 a month very easily. Here in China, I pay more than that. Obviously, usually I spend about $1,000 a month here, maybe $1,200 a month. But very rarely do I spend more than that unless there's something special that I need to do. But yeah, in China, for me, $1,200 a month is basically what I spend, even though I budget more than that, but I never spend my budget. It's usually under $1,200. So for the living costs, you know, I could live cheaper in the Philippines, but that $700, $800 a month out in the province, the quality of life isn't going to be nearly as good as it is here in China. And if I wanted to have the same quality of life I have in China, if I was in the Philippines, like out in the province, I would have to spend about the same amount of money. I'd probably spend $1,100, $1,200 US dollars a month to have the same life that I have in China. So the cost is going to be about the same. But if I wanted to live in like a place like I live here in China, like a big, nice, clean, modern area, there's not many choices. I would like literally have to choose like IT Park in Cebu or BGC in Manila. And those places will be a lot more expensive to live than living here in China where I live now. I'd pay more money to live in Philippines in that situation than living here. So in terms of cost of living, it really depends on what type of lifestyle you want. If you want a nice, rural, quiet place, you could do it much cheaper. If you want the amenities that you have in big cities here in China, it's going to cost you the same amount of money or more money in the Philippines. So other than that, I guess I'll talk to you guys about my thoughts or my opinions about the people in Philippines. It's obviously much easier for me as an American to make friends and communicate or even date with Filipinos because they all speak English. which for me, I do speak Chinese, so I can do the same thing here in China. But something about in Philippines, like they're culturally a lot more similar to us Americans. And so culturally, it's just easier to get along with them and understand them and to make friendships with them or to date them compared to Chinese people. Now, in terms of Chinese people, I want to say Chinese people, once you actually get to know a lot of Chinese people, they are also very nice, very kind, and very friendly. It's just not like everybody that you come across on the street is gonna act like that. But in Philippines, you know, you just pass by anybody on the street and people are gonna say hi to you. They're gonna be very friendly, super nice to you, and just treat you with a lot of hospitality and just like very welcoming and opening, and even just joke with you on the street. But I rarely have that happen in China. But it's not saying anything bad about Chinese people. It's just maybe it takes a little bit more time for Chinese people to warm up to you and to get to know you. They're just not quite as open and friendly to foreigners until you break down the barrier and actually develop a friendship with them. But once you do that, Chinese people are also very kind and generous and very nice people. It's just the initial breaking down the barrier is a little bit harder. And then on top of that, I would say it is a little bit more difficult to make friends with Chinese people, especially if you don't know the language, but I do speak Chinese, so that's not a problem. But just culturally, Chinese people are very different than most of us Americans. So there's going to be a lot of cultural differences that may make it feel awkward or weird to try to make friends with Chinese people as opposed to making friends with Filipino people, because culturally they're more similar to us Americans. So making friends is much easier there. Dating there is much easier. And also in terms of, I guess we'll talk about in terms of dating, because I dated when I was in Philippines, and I've obviously dated in China. I've been here for 16 years. So very different in terms of, in my opinion, in terms of dating women. I can't speak about men. I don't do the whole man thing. I only date women. But for dating, I would say for me, I prefer dating in the Philippines for a couple of reasons, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you the difference. First of all, a lot of, in just my opinion, a lot of Filipino women are more like, I would say, simple beauty. Like you don't see a lot of women walking around wearing lots of makeup and try to dress like high fashion or something like that. They're just very simple and beautiful in a natural kind of way. And in China, it's quite the opposite. There's like many beautiful women in China, but every time I go out, I just see lots of women just wearing loads of makeup, and it's really hard for me to see like natural beauty here. And also the women here tend to be more, what's the word to put it? Just more sophisticated, I guess. Like, they would try to dress more fashionable or more sophisticated and more, like I said, I don't know, more modern or more, I don't know, just not as simple as the way the Filipinos go about their everyday life in terms of like their style and fashion and things like that. And for me, I don't like that. I prefer the more simple, more natural beauty. It don't really need to put in a whole lot of effort, but they just have something about them with the personality or just the way they carry themselves or something. I don't know, for me, it's just more attractive to me. But there are definitely some very beautiful Chinese women. It's just a different style, right? And it just depends on what type of style suits you. Because I know lots of people who went to the Philippines and there's like, all the women there was like, wear flip-flops everywhere, and they didn't dress nice, and they said, they were fat or something like that. And me personally, I don't see that. I find a lot of Filipino women to be very attractive and very, all the things are in the right places, if you know what I mean. And for Chinese women, they tend to be a little bit more most of them anyway, just tend to be a little bit more sophisticated, more modern, more fashion oriented, that kind of thing, which for me, I don't really care about that kind of stuff. What else can I tell you guys? Also, in terms of dating, I guess there's definitely the age gap in Philippines is obviously going to be, it's more acceptable to have an age gap relationship. Like you might see a man who's in his 40s like me, or in his 50s, dating with a girl that's like 20. It's very common to see there. Here in China, it does exist, but it's not so common. Like the last girl I dated here in China actually was only 20 or 21 years old, and I'm in my 40s. But that's not really a common thing. Typically, the type of Chinese women that are usually attracted to me are usually like 28 to 35, 38 years old, like around that range, which is fine for me because I like the age range, because mentally they're just on a different level than girls who are much younger. So I don't mind that myself. But some people who are, interested in dating really young women, definitely Philippines, it can be done. And there's different reasons for that, I think. Some of it is economical. Like some of those girls, they just want to improve their economic situation. And if that means dating a man who's like 50 or 60 even, they'll do it. But it's not always about the money. I mean, I believe it is kind of natural there and normal. It's been normalized by society there for those kind of things. So sometimes it's not always about the money. It really is that they love older men. And it might just be because of what they provide for the family and this kind of thing, just more stability, more maturity and all those things. Because it's quite common in the Philippines to come across girls who are even in their early 20s, like 24, 25. They're already married, they already have kids, but they're separated and they can't get divorced because divorce is illegal there. So usually women over 24, they've already got children and the guy ran off and this kind of thing. So now you have a lot of younger women who are like 19, 20, and they're looking for older men in their 40s or 50s because they think those men are going to be more stable and they're not going to get married or impregnate them and run off. They're going to actually want to stay with them and create a family with them. And so, they don't get stuck raising the kid alone. And that's a lot of reason why you see a lot of younger Filipinos dating, older men. So it's not just all about economics. But in China, that's not so common. In China, I would say the typical age gap will be 10 years or less. So, it's not really uncommon to see like my age, like 43, with like a 30, 33-year-old woman. I think that's kind of normal. But once you start getting more 10 years or more of a separation, it's not quite as common here. And I think it's more rare that you will see that. So, that's some of the differences that I've experienced myself and some of the things that I've noticed. And some other things, I guess, that I will talk about, because things that I like is food. I like to eat. And I found it to be much easier to eat healthy food here in China. But at the same time, that's just because of my lifestyle here. So when I stay in Philippines, I'm usually like living out of hotels and stuff like that. So I do have to eat out a lot. And when you're eating out a lot in Philippines, the choices aren't that great. Like, because they have a lot of like deep fried foods and things like that. Food that's not really healthy. If you want to eat healthier and live healthier in Philippines, then obviously you would need to be, going to the supermarket, cooking your food at home and that kind of thing. And if you do that, then it's not going to be very expensive. It's going to be very cheap. But for me and my lifestyle, I found it easier to eat cleaner and eat healthier and all that kind of stuff. I can do that better here in China than I can in Philippines. And it's also not expensive here in China to find healthy food, especially if you're cooking at home, going to the supermarket and this kind of thing. Healthy food, healthy meat and vegetables and fruits and all those things are relatively inexpensive here in China. So you can really, have a good, healthy lifestyle in terms of your diet and things like that. It's really, really easy to do for very cheaply here in China. In Philippines, it is too, if you're cooking at home and all that stuff. But like I said, I was living there temporarily out of hotels and things. So it's a little bit more difficult. But in terms of the food, what type of food I like the best, if I have to eat out in both places, it's a tough choice for me because I think Filipino food, some of the Filipino food is very underrated. I think it gets a bad rap, but they actually have a lot of really great food. And I think everybody knows China has some of the best food in the world. I think China is usually in the top 5, maybe even the top 3 type of cuisines in the world, which in China there's so much variety. There's so many different dishes of food that you can eat in China, and there's like way too many to even name. And for that, I think China obviously will win when it comes to food, but it just depends on yourself too, what type of food you like, because Philippines does have a lot of Western influence. So if you're not open to eating a lot of different foods, Philippines might be better for you. They have a lot of sweet foods, a lot of deep fried foods and things like that, typical stuff that Americans usually eat. But because, I've been living abroad so long, I've been in China so long, those type of foods don't really appeal to me, but they might appeal to you. So maybe Philippines would be a better choice for you in terms of your food options and having, all these things available that's not so common here in China, I think. So anyway, I just want to share that with you guys, let you guys know about my thoughts and feelings about that now that I'm back in China. Would I consider living in the Philippines permanently like I live here in China? Definitely I would, but I'm not 100% sure what the location would be, because there's certain things about Philippines that I don't necessarily like about the big cities that I do like here in China about the big cities. So if I was to live in the Philippines, I would definitely have to choose like a small beach town somewhere near the beach, or actually right on the beach. But it'd have to be like a small town or small city, not a big major city. And if I was to live there, that's what I would do. That's what I would choose for sure. And but right now, at this point in time, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know, am I going to stay in China? Am I going to go to Thailand or Malaysia or Philippines, somewhere else? I have no idea. I haven't made up my mind. I'm not in a rush, just whenever I decide. But I am mentally preparing to make a big change in my life. So I'll probably keep visiting the Philippines and looking for places that I might consider living, simply because the visa there is much easier to have a long-term visa. Like I can stay in the Philippines for 3 years without leaving. Like as an American, you just pay a little bit of money every month for visa extensions and things like that. And you can stay for like 3 years. And in China, that's not possible. Unless, of course, you're working or something, and I don't want to do that. So I might have to look at some other options outside of China. Like I said, Malaysia, Thailand, places like that. So anyway, we'll see. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I just want to share you guys my thoughts and feelings and opinions about, Philippines and China and that kind of thing. And also, if you haven't checked it out, broke my camera almost. If you haven't checked it out, I got a book here. There, now you can see it. I wrote a book about, I'm making a mess, guys. Wrote a book about my struggles from actually when I was broke and depressed and all those other things. And I moved to the Philippines. That story's in here. And I actually ended up homeless over there for a short time before going back to America, and before eventually coming to China, finding some purpose, some peace of mind, some happiness, all those things China has provided for me. That story is right here in this book. If you're interested, I'll put the link down below. Also, I am creating a free course about breaking free from the 9-to-5 and moving abroad and just creating a life of purposefulness, peacefulness, happiness, and freedom. And I am creating a free course for that. I'll give it to you guys for free. It'll be on my other YouTube channel. I'll put the link for that down below as well. But the course isn't completely done yet. It's like 24 lessons I'm going to be releasing over a couple months probably. So I'll be releasing them step by step. But I'll put it over there. I'll put the link below. You guys can go check that out if you want. And I'll see you guys next time. Y'all take care.